Hello, I'm with Nobita. Wait, what is your last name? Do you go
Actually, Nobita Nobi.
Nobita Nobi? That's a
Yes.
cool name.
ありがとうございます。よろ
ああ、
しくお願いします。
私はVirstyneです。こんにち
あ、よろ
は。
しくお願いします。あ、日本語う
こんにちは。
まいですね。
That's all I know. That's all I know in Japanese. So, yeah, I'm learning Chinese and I know Spanish. So,
Oh, that's great.
yeah, but do you know any other languages besides Japanese?
Actually, English and Japanese.
Japanese. Your English is
That's
great.
it.
Your English is great. I'm also a language
Well,
teacher
thank you.
as well. Yeah, it's really
Wow.
yeah. That's why I'm learning Chinese or because I lived in Taiwan for 2 years, so I picked some up. So but
Cool.
yeah, so you're a language teacher, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
Japanese teacher.
Yes. So I reached out to you because I saw your video on, and I was very impressed, by the way. Like it was questions like Japanese people have for Black people,
Uh,
and I commended your courage because just growing up and living in Asian culture, I notice a lot of Asians don't have. They're very polite. Japanese are very polite. They don't want to take a risk and ask questions like that. You know. So
yeah,
what made
exactly.
you what made you want to ask that? Well, what made you want to what am I trying to say? Go against the grain and take a risk and have the courage to ask that question.
Actually, I'm actually quite concerned about the race issue in the U.S. Because the influence of the Western country, especially the U.S., is quite big. In Japan, we are constantly getting the influence living in Japan. I can tell that, and that race issue, seeing the race issue, I'm really, don't like their mentality, I'm always victim, that kind of mentality. And I'm saying this not just because I'm seeing the news, I'm a Japanese teacher and, teaching foreigners. And some of my students are black people, Americans. And I've actually seen their victim mentalities,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
So,
interesting.
yeah.
So I'm doing this series too, called Blacker Than Thou, and I made a video talking about the victim mentality that Black people are in. And I'm also reaching out. I also think not only like does it concern other Black people in the country, but it concerns other people. We call, I guess, non-whites, people of color. But now it's spreading out to the white people too. I think when I was younger, it was more. I noticed it more just in Black people. Now I see this whole culture of just spreading out over America, victim mentality, and not taking responsibility. And I think it's very, very detrimental. So I'm curious to, as an outsider looking in, to hear you speak about that. I was just very shocked, and I wanted to get your perspective. And you're saying
Oh,
because
thank you.
you have students, and you love your students, like I love my students.
Yeah,
I'm
of
sure.
course, of course.
You have
Yeah.
a bond as a teacher, as anybody that's a teacher. You have a bond with your students, and that's why you're concerned because you're taking a personal interest in this subject because of your students, and you see how it's affecting them.
Yeah, I actually really care about them. And I'm really concerned about the picture, minorities blaming the majority, That might be the future in Japan, actually. If Japan, increases immigrants in the future.
Yeah, it's really, really smart. My cousin is I have Japanese family. My cousin, his wife is Japanese, and they have 3 kids. And then I have family in Japan as well. I have not been to Japan. I need to go. But
Yeah,
so I have Black
definitely.
Japanese. I have a friend that's from high school. Her husband, she's Black. Her husband's Japanese, and I have 2 friends in college that live in Japan. So I have lots of reasons to come. But
That's great.
yeah. So but you're saying that. So I'm sorry, I kind of sidetracked a little bit. But you're saying as you see immigrants come in, you see them bringing this, and then because it's going to spill over into your society, actually, as well.
Actually, the other day, one of my black friends asked me, do you watch Black Panther? And I just said, I don't watch because I'm not interested in that kind of, action movie. And he got upset, and, I'm a racist, because of that. This kind of mentality, sensitiveness is quite crazy, right?
Yeah.
I'm really concerned about that.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see the movie, but now people are making such a big deal about it here in America that, and now I'm kind of turned off about seeing it just because I feel like now I have to see it because I'm black, And now there are people. It's crazy here. I'm telling you, people are like, I think we have this. Have you heard of Rotten Tomatoes?
Yeah.
Somebody gave it, instead of 5 stars, they gave it 3 stars, and they got attacked. So it's how
crazy.
do you know? How do you grow as a person? How do you know if you're doing a good job if you're forcing people to say that you did good when maybe you didn't?
Exactly. Yeah.
So, it's just very. I mean, I think I'll see it when it dies down. But like I said, it's not just with black people. Like, do you know Ghostbusters?
Yes.
Did you hear about the Ghostbuster controversy?
Actually, yeah, I heard about that.
But the female remake and how it's kind of the same thing. They're making people feel guilty about. So I didn't even see it. I saw it eventually, but I saw it when all of the hype died down. And it was okay. It wasn't terrible, but it was okay.
Yeah.
So it wasn't better than the original Ghostbusters. So that was better. Have you seen those movies?
Actually, I've never saw that. But did you know the blackface controversy in Japan?
The black race?
Blackface controversy.
Yeah, a little bit. Oh, blackface.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't watch your whole video. I saw that you made a video on it. So you want to ask me about that? Yeah, ask me, and I'll tell you. You tell me, and then we'll talk. So what's up with that? I saw so a guy, he just painted his face.
Actually, a Japanese comedian, pretending like Eddie Murphy as a comedy on a TV show. And, he was just, pretending Eddie Murphy, playing a character, And the blackface is just one part of that, But, some people, especially black people in Japan, got offended by that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Even in Japan?
Yeah, even in Japan,
I mean, I'm not sensitive. That stuff doesn't bother me, but it does. I don't know if you know the history of blackface in our country. Do you know?
I know that. Yeah.
Okay.
I know the history.
So I think there's just this weird thing going on where we're told what we're supposed to be offended about and what we're not. And a lot of people are kind of led into that. I actually interviewed a guy that was from Africa, he's Black African, and he was telling me that when he would look at movies about the U.S., he would see movies, Will Smith movies, and he thought, oh, American blacks are very confident. So when he gets into college, he's saying that he feels like his professors are brainwashing him and telling him that the system is against him and trying to make him feel inferior. So I feel right now what's going on in this country, it's kind of systematic with the media and with the college education systems to make people have a victim mentality. And when you put people in a victim mentality, they're easily controlled. You can control them easy. So, through, like everything, like racism is everywhere. Oh, it's under the computer. It's, it's in my coffee cup. It's everywhere, to the point where people become very paranoid. But not only is this happening here in America with race, it's happening with feminism. Have you been keeping up with that? The feminist issue.
Yeah.
And now there's feminism, and now there's MGTOW. MGTOW is like the male version of the modern feminist movement as a reaction to that, And it's creating like a civil war. I would say we're kind of in a civil war in this country. There are a lot of blacks here that don't have victim mentality either, but we fight with the blacks that do. And they call us when we're like, hey, slavery was a long time ago. It happened. But if you look into history, you would see that everybody has been enslaved in some point. Every culture. Has Japanese? I mean, well, I know, like, you know, you went through the atomic bomb. You know, like, every culture has had its hardships. And I think if people, you know, I think another reason, too, in school, history isn't taught that way. We're not really, we're kind of, you know, when I was going to school, black people were mainly taught about, like, oh, we were slaves and that was nothing. But there were inventors, there were business people, we had different towns and everything. And you kind of grow up with this mentality that, oh, you're a victim. Some people hold on to that. Does that am I making sense?
Yeah, it perfectly makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I want to emphasize, you know, I actually totally agree. You know, not everybody is like that. You know, quite many people, many black people actually don't have you know, victim mentality at all. You know, just like you. So that's why I'm quite, you know, upset about, you know, the victim mentality of some black people. You know, like doing Black Lives Matter. You know, because that's gonna make, you know, other black people looks back, right? Look back.
Yeah. You know. Oh, so you want to know? Yeah, I don't like with the Black Lives Matter. It's very peculiar because we have more. If you're concerned about the number of black people that are actually dying, then there are more black people that kill each other with gang violence.
Yeah, I know that.
Than
Yeah.
Police kill. There are more black people. There are more black babies that are aborted through abortion. You know, but when you bring these issues up, yeah, it's terrible. When you bring these issues up, people want to focus on, you know, oh, the police and stuff. And of course there are corrupt police. Of course, you know, that happens too. Not all the time. Policemen are people too. I've had good experiences with policemen. I've had bad experiences with policemen because they're people. But yeah, I think that you know, I don't know how far. I don't know if you want to get a bit conspiratorial, but I think that there are outside influences. You know, there's a guy named George Soros who has been, if you look up his history, he has had his hand in causing chaos in other countries for power, like in Europe and stuff. So he's funding an organization like that. But a lot of times, because people are ruled by their emotions, they don't use their logic, they don't do research. And they join organizations, and I think there are a lot of good people in Black Lives Matter. I think there are a lot of people that want to end racism. I think nobody really wants racism, but I think they're going about it the wrong way, and I think it's going to lead them into a trap because, you know, when something happens, they just go out and go crazy and, you know, riot, and they're either going to, A, get a police record, and they're going to be more... what am I trying to say? It's going to be harder for them to get a job and progress in society if they do something violent, and then they're going to manifest, oh, the system that's against them. Or two, they're going to get hurt and killed, you know, or hurt and disabled. So, and people that are funding these organizations, they don't care about them. They care about their own personal interests.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite, you know, worries me, you know. You know, black people, you know, some black people in Japan are exactly like that, actually.
Really?
Not everyone, yeah. You know, some of my students, actually, they're you know, trying hard to learn Japanese language, but they are, you know, quite complaining of white people, you know, Trump or that kind of thing. You know.
Oh, I love Trump.
Always complain. Yeah, that's quite a rare case, right? Because as far as I know, most black people I know not Republican, you know, Democrat, right?
Yeah.
So why is that?
You know, it's very interesting too. So I don't know if you know about the Democratic Party, but
I know that.
Do you know about the KKK?
Yes.
Oh, dang.
Extremely racist, right?
Yeah. Okay, so the KKK, the Democrat Party was when that party formed. They actually formed the KKK. So back in the actually Martin Luther King was a Republican. So somewhere along the line, the party switched. A lot of Democrats they gain their power. Let me see if I can break it down. So there are more than one political parties, but the two dominating parties in the U.S. are Democrats and Republicans, right? Mm-hmm. And then you might have Libertarian, you might have Green Party, Independent, you might have some parties in between. But usually it generally comes down to those two parties because they have the most backing behind them. So the Democrats usually use their power by they want illegal immigration, right? Because illegal immigrants will come into the country. A, they can exploit them for their cheap labor. B, they can they know if they come in and then they can get them to become citizens, or they marry with somebody, they have a baby that's a citizen here, or they bring relatives over through chain migration, then they'll get their votes and they'll get their powers. Does that make sense? But if,
Makes sense.
okay, so if you look at a lot of the districts that the Democrats run, a lot of them are very, very, like, lots of poverty, bad schools, gangs, you know, because they want to keep people in this victim mentality. A lot of the people that are Democrats are very, you know, they're getting rich off of the poor people, I would say.
See.
So Republicans, I'm not saying that one is good or bad. At this moment in time, I would say the Democrats are bad. I think it's out of balance. There are Republicans that, you know, so I would say the Republican mentality, I know I'm being general, is more like being self-sufficient, you know, sticking up for yourself, you know, being self-reliant and not blaming other people. Because if you blame people, see, and then the Democrats too, they want to keep welfare going, which I think some people need in hard times, but there's so many people that abuse the system, white people and black people. Not, you know, there's a lot of white people on welfare too. There's a lot of, I think there's even more white people on welfare than black people, because bigger. But a lot of the immigrants that come to America too, they get benefits like free schooling, they get assistance housing, they get Medi-Cal, you know, they get all of these things. So a lot of the people that don't really want to take responsibility and keep these going, they're kind of staying in that victim mentality, where people that are working hard and they want to see the country progress, they are, they're, you know, they're kind of going off, they supported Trump. And there are actually a lot of black people that support Trump, but the media too.
Really?
Yes, that's what I'm saying, I'm doing a series. I'll send you some links later if you're interested. But they don't really, you know, they want to say that he's a racist. They want to say that there are a lot of people of color, they're Mexicans that support Trump. They're people, I have a lot of friends that are immigrants, that are legal immigrants that support Trump. But the thing is, I would say there's the mainstream media and the alternative media. So the mainstream media is saying that are saying that, you know, Trump supporters are racist and they're white nationalists, and Trump doesn't like immigrants, and that's not true. He wants to do something about illegal immigration, because it's not right too for the people that come. I have a lot of friends that are legal immigrants that come to America, and they have to do it the right way. They have to stand in line. They've sacrificed a lot. So just to let these other people come in, you know, it's not right, and it's taking jobs away from, you know, teenagers that need jobs, you know, maybe, you know, or other black people that are poor, you know, that need jobs. It's given to the illegal immigrants. So
actually, I'm quite surprised. You know, quite many people in the U.S. are totally okay with illegal immigrants, right? That
no
sounds crazy.
Oh, illegal? Well, there's a lot. Well, I think
illegal, right?
Again, like I said, they're playing on people's emotions, and you know, there's a drug war coming over with the drug cartels. So Mexico's government is really corrupt, and I would say that our government isn't perfect either. Our government has done some corrupt things, but we have a lot of people coming over to America from Mexico because of the corruption in their country. Their country is totally corrupt. Like, their presidents and a lot of their politicians, you know, like, they collaborate with the cartels, and it's terrible. And Mexico, I've been to Mexico 3 times. It's a wonderful country. The people are wonderful. I have nothing against the people, but, you know, like I said, so a lot of people too that are okay with legal immigrants coming in, you know, they want that because they can use them for cheap labor.
Oh.
You know? And then you see these celebrities, you know, that talk about, oh, let's open up the borders. But they're hypocrites because they live in a big, you know, neighborhoods far away. They never live with the illegal immigrants, you know. They never live, a lot of the, you know, they have gated communities. They have their own private security guards. So a lot of the immigrants that come over too, I'm not saying all immigrants that come from Mexico are gang members, but a lot, or some that do come over that are gang members, they're protected from that. It's the poor people like me or people that aren't super rich that have to deal with it. So it's I would say a lot of that what you see too, where a lot of people are saying that they're okay with immigrants, either I would say illegal immigrants. I mean, I would say that maybe they haven't thought it through or they're virtue signaling. Do you know virtue signaling?
Yes.
Yeah, so
yes,
they're like virtue signaling. I'm sorry if I talk too fast. Let me know. I'm always like.
no, no.
So
Yeah, actually, your opinion is really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, there's I've actually, like I said, I'm doing this series. I've connected with a lot of Black people. They're starting to YouTube. A lot of people are scared too. I would say to voice their opinions because.
Yeah.
Because
do you get a lot of haters?
Yes, I do.
But
I also get a lot of people that agree with me, and a lot of people write me privately. I had a professor from a prominent Black university. He told me it was a professor to write me secretly, and he says, "Yeah, you know, I'm very I totally agree with you." And he goes, "I'm afraid to come out because of my job or the university or." You know, and I'm like, wow, that's crazy. You know, I have lots of little jobs that I can do here and there. I freelance and I courier and I do certain things. So I have more freedom, I feel, to be honest about it. But a lot of people, because the Democrats or the left, I would say, has dominated the entertainment industry, and they've dominated, which has huge influence on what people think, and they've dominated the colleges and stuff. That a lot of people are afraid to come out and speak, or even like. You know, I interviewed a guy the other day. He's like, "Oh, I'm afraid to even like a comment on Facebook because people would say it." It's gotten really like Gestapo here. People are ratting on each other, or I've lost friends. My cousin won't talk to me. Two of my cousins won't talk to me. My brother's relationship has been. I mean, I love my brother, but we're not really close like we used to be after this election. And honestly, I did not even vote for Trump. I didn't vote for Hillary either.
Really?
No, I didn't vote for Hillary either. I know that she's very corrupt, and I've looked into her past, so there was no way I was voting for her. And then I just didn't really, at the time, I didn't really care about voting because I just have seen so many politicians say one thing and do another that I was very apathetic. So when he won, I was actually happy because I was like, well, at least Hillary's not going to win. So then I started actually going back and looking at like what the mainstream media does. They'll they'll have clips from speeches and they'll cut it up, right? And most people won't watch the whole speech. They'll watch maybe a few minutes of the speech. So I actually started going back and I started watching the whole speech. Like, for instance, he talks about illegal immigrants. So and I think the speech was like an hour long. And then the mainstream media cuts the speech up and they say that they cut him saying, when Mexico, I'm paraphrasing, but this is when Mexico sends us immigrants, they send us their worst. They're rapists, they're murderers, they're blah, 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 blah. So now the mainstream media cuts that part and they just say, oh, all they hear is Mexican immigrants, they're rapists, they're murderers, they're blah, 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 blah. So I go back and I say, that's not what he said. They're lying. So I think there's a lot of corruption in the mainstream media. And, you know, because of that too, and not just during this election, but a few years ago, more than a few years ago, but this is the rise of the independent media, the alternative media, because they see that like people are what am I trying to say? Are lying basically. So people start doing reports themselves, right? Journalism is supposed to be for the people. It's supposed to be the middleman between the higher ups and, you know, the regular people to keep the higher ups honest and taking control of people. But because corporations and other special global interests have corrupted the media, they have a definite bias. And they pretend like they don't have a bias, but they have a bias. And the president is, you know, they don't like him because he's not submitting to the globalist interest, I would say.
Mm. Yeah, actually, Japanese media got affected. You know, they are also biased, quite biased,
Yeah.
because in Japan, I would say most Japanese people don't like Trump, simply because our media was affected by mainstream medias like
Yeah.
CNN.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course, CNN's the worst, and they're so corrupt because they have
So
influence
yeah,
over the world. I feel.
I was wondering why they are trying so hard. Look Trump so bad.
Oh God.
Making Trump look bad.
Do you watch Infowars?
Actually, some of I actually some of his videos, but not everything.
Yeah, you've heard of it though, right?
Yeah.
How did you hear about it?
Actually, fake news is kind of trend word, right?
Is it what?
Fake news. Fake news.
Yeah, I don't consider them fake news. I feel like they're actually CNN's competition. I love them. I watch them because I've just figured out that the mainstream media and CNN they've been caught lying so many times. You know, they pushed a lot of people, and this has been over a period of years that people have started turning away from mainstream media because in I'll just give you an example. The Iraq War, the BBC, CNN, they pushed the story that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction, right? They didn't do investigative research, but they just ran with the story that he has weapons of mass destruction. We must go into his country and invade them. Over a million Iraqis died, and now they're like, we didn't find any weapons of mass destruction. Where's the responsibility in that? Lots of people were affected by that war. The soldiers that had to go and kill people, and the people that died, a lot of the soldiers are mentally messed up because they were used to go and kill other people. So then you have a segment of the population that starts to not believe the mainstream media. And the more they're caught in a lie, the more people start looking for alternative sources of information.
So why so many mainstream medias in the US are biased? So biased. What is the biggest reason?
I think that they have corporate interests. They have interests that are outside of that are connected outside of the U.S. And Trump is that. So I would say, like, if there are two sides, there's like a globalist side and there's a nationalist side. So Trump is trying to bring nationalism back into the country. They want, they're trying to make us hate our country, and they're trying to make us, feel bad, for being Americans. And Trump is, bringing the American spirit back again. And they don't want that because there are a lot of people in government, there are a lot of people in the media. They're all colluding with each other, and they want to, bring this country down because they have special interests. They don't care. They've sold out, whether it's corporations that is buying out like CNN and like advertisers and like for the pharmaceutical industry, all these big, huge corporations, they put money into, I'm not trying to say, the news organizations. So, and then they're also biased too about what they can and can't report on, because if they're being controlled if they're getting their funding from larger corporations, then then they can be controlled about what to say and what not to say.
See. Oh, that's quite bad because as a Japanese living in Japan, most Japanese people have to trust the big media, right? We don't watch independent YouTube channel or anything like that.
You don't have any independent media?
Actually, I personally watch some conservative people their channel. I personally watch that. But most Japanese people don't watch those independent channels, right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty bad.
I want to ask you a question, though, because you seem like you're a truth seeker. You're out of the box thinker. And I hope I'm not being offensive, but I want to ask
No. Actually, I appreciate that.
Okay, yeah, I know. So, so I want to ask you, though, because the first 8 years of my life, like I lived in a part of LA. A lot of my friends were Asian, and I have Asian culture. And then I lived in Taiwan, and I loved Chinese stuff, and like I love that stuff. But I noticed working and living in Asian culture, that Asian people are very like obedient, and they don't really question things.
Exactly.
And that's I mean, if I have 10 things to say about Japan, 9 of them would be great, or Asian culture, whatever, 9 would be great. But that thing, it's like really bothers me, because I feel like this attitude of obedience and not questioning. I appreciate the respect aspect, but the whole thing of just being obedient and not questioning anything, it's also very dangerous too, because people are people, no matter what race, no matter what country you are. So there are people that are going to take advantage of that and be corrupt, or try and corrupt people or lead them down a path. So what are your thoughts on that?
Actually, I think that could be a good thing, right? Sometimes. So because of the mentality, we have a quite low crime rate, and everyone cooperating, and when it comes to when you do something as a group, we are really organized and doing well, So I'm kind of 50-50 on that as a Japanese. But like you said, sometimes I'm quite frustrated by that, because even if I wanna say really opinion about that, sometimes I have to keep it inside, So I guess that's why I'm running my YouTube channel, expressing my thoughts in English, because speaking Japanese makes you kind of modest,
Yeah.
I think language, what kind of language affects your behavior and
Yes, for sure.
the way you talk. Yeah.
Yeah, and it also expands your consciousness, I think. Do you feel like you're kind of, since you know 2 languages now, do you feel like you're 2 different people in a sense?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I feel like that too, right? And there are some things too, when I was living in Taiwan, maybe I wanted to comment on, but I didn't know the language well enough to express myself, or I was just trying not to be offensive. So I'm very outspoken in English in my country, but in in Taiwan, I was very like,
Yeah.
okay.
So Japan and the US is kind of opposite, right? So what I want is in the middle, the middle.
Yeah, it's a balance. It's a balance, definitely, because I did notice too when I was in Taiwan, the shoes, like people would leave their shoes outside, and nobody would steal them. And it was like in America, people will steal your
Japan
shoes.
too.
I've heard that. I'm breaking it up. I know that Japanese and Taiwan, it's different cultures, but that's the closest I've been. So I've noticed that, and I've heard that about Japan as well. That people are very, and the crime rate is low.
Yeah.
Do you have drug problems?
A little bit, just a little bit. Yeah. But when it comes to social issue, I would say the number is the low birth rate, the low birth rate issue. I'm really concerned about that.
Wait, the low what? Oh, the birth rate?
Low birth rate,
yeah. Do you think it has to do with like the toxins in your area because of Fukushima and...
I think
is it people
it's
not
more like
or people just not having sex, or people not able to have children?
Yeah, people are losing interest in dating, actually. Losing interest in dating. But the US too, right? But I think in the US, different reason, right? Maybe I think feminism is the biggest reason, right? It's a low birth rate.
Feminism, for the low birth rate, I can't give you a definite answer on that. I have to think about it. It could be. I would say it's one of the things. I don't think. I don't think it's all of the things. I think it's one of the things for sure. But I mean, I like to date. I'm not stopping dating. I love men. I love men. Yeah.
I see. So
men.
Anyway, the population is shrinking, right?
The what?
Population is shrinking in Japan rapidly. Just shrinking. Yeah,
It's because
and
more people are not.
some people say, that so we should take in more immigrants and more foreigners, and I'm quite concerned about that, seeing the race issue in the U.S.
So do you think that, like, are you afraid that you lose your culture if a lot of immigrants come?
Actually, like I said, minorities are blaming the majority,
Yeah.
and claiming like white privilege.
Yeah.
Actually, that's ridiculous, right?
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. I mean, there's still racism though. There are. Have you been to the U.S. or have you been outside?
Actually, one time, New Orleans.
Did you experience any racism?
A little bit. Actually, New Orleans, quite, majority of people, African Americans, right?
Yeah, yeah.
New Orleans. And I have to say, they were pretty rude,
Oh wow, I'm
But
sorry.
maybe because I'm a, skinny,
Did they
big
call you
Asian.
Chinese? Did they call you Chinese?
Yeah, all the time. Actually.
I was trying to explain to my friends. I was like, I know that they're different, cultures, but a lot of people they're gonna be like, if you're Korean, if you're Japanese, if you're Taiwanese, they'll be like you're Chinese. You know what I mean?
Actually, I got the impression they are quite sensitive,
Yeah.
sensitive.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why they are so sensitive?
You mean like with a race?
Actually, H&M, H&M. Do you know H&M, H&B?
The store?
Yeah, the store. And they got offended, and they got violent, right?
Oh, I don't. Is it about the little boy that was wearing the monkey?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, okay, there's a whole like stereotype comparing black people to monkeys during slavery. Okay, how do I explain this? I'm gonna take you down a rabbit hole, but I'm gonna have to say if you want to know more, really, I'll send you some stuff. But I would say that like emotional, like I said, I think this might be conspiratorial. I don't know, but outside influences that use generational trauma to get people in these mindsets to keep them in a victim mentality. So like I said, if you're going to control, so some people fall for that. So they'll say, because, black people are, oh, look at that monkey. They're saying that he's a monkey. And then a lot of black people are like, oh, like, they'll start thinking in their heads. It's kind of like, I would say like PTSD in a sense, where they're just like, oh, they'll see the monkey and then they'll just be like, oh, and they'll take it personally, like they're being called the monkey. I'm just trying to I think I sound crazy. I'm just trying to make it like, give you some explanation as to why some people are very sensitive to that. But a lot of people, if you don't unresolve your trauma too, because one of the reasons too I think why people are racist is because of I think it's like a defense mechanism. Sometimes maybe they were hurt, their feelings were hurt, or they had a traumatic situation with the race when they were younger. So then they put up a wall and they say, okay, well, I'm not going to deal with these kind of people. I'm going to blame these people, and this will keep me safe. Mm-hmm. This is like on a psychological level, right? Like people do this. So then, when they have these triggers that say being called the word nigger, or like seeing monkeys, or these are things that trigger certain emotions in people that have that trauma, that unresolved racist trauma, whatever, that's not resolved. So then they go crazy. Does that make sense? I have to send you more stuff on so it's a psychological thing, but I think that there are people that through the media, they use that. There are people in power, they use that, and they know that some people are going to react that way. So they'll make a big deal about it in the media. Now this little boy that's wearing the monkey suit, he doesn't even know. Kids don't know. He's just like, oh, cool, I'm modeling, I'm wearing a monkey suit, I'm getting paid money, And, kids of all races like monkeys. Monkeys are really cool. The parents, he probably wasn't even thinking about it. But there are people that are in the media and power too that are just like, they're fixated on every little thing where it's making other people racist. It's making other people not want to do, like the whole Black Panther thing we were talking about. Like, I'm like, I wanted to see it, but now I'm just like, now I want to like be rebellious and not see it because people are saying I should see it. You know, people are saying, oh, you should see it. Like what? Like, you know, if I came to him, it's like, Nobita, oh my God, I just saw this awesome movie, and I start telling you about it, and I'm all pumped up, then you'd want to go see it, right? But if I'm just like, oh, you better go see this movie, or you're a racist, you're not gonna want to go see it. It's just really weird, right?
So nobody can, criticize that movie, right? Basically.
Well, if
That's
I
crazy.
see it, I'll be honest about it. I mean, I hope it's good. The previews looks good, but I mean, people can, but people that have been criticizing it have been getting attacked. And our country is just in a very crazy culture war right now, where a lot of the people like me are in the alternative media, are on YouTube, that are expressing their views because the media, has dominated everything. Google has been caught censoring people. They've been taking people's videos down if people are saying stuff that they don't like. They've been labeling people that are in alternative media as fake news. I brought up InfoWars before, and they're labeling them as fake news, but they are, I would say they are at the forefront of the new rising alternative media. They've been around for like 20 years, but now they're just starting to break free. Yeah, it started with a guy named Alex Jones. He was a journalist, an independent journalist, and he found out, the media and certain people were lying about it. So he would actually just go around with his camera and interview people and talk to them about stuff. And like, back when VHS tape, like in the old days. So, and then he had a radio show, and then he got other reporters, and now it's growing. But now, because he's competition, they're labeling him all fake news and stuff. But he has really interesting guests on. He has government people on. He has politicians. He has doctors. He has lawyers. He had Martin Luther King's niece on. She's a politician. He had some of the old Black Panthers on. He has a variety of interviews and people. And the reporters actually go out and talk to people, and they're just like, hi, why are you here? And some people will just go crazy on them. And just because they've been brainwashed by the mainstream media to think that these people are bad because they're outside of the main media. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
But, makes sense. But, most people, ordinary people, still trust mainstream media, right?
I would say, I think the country now is split in half.
Split in half.
Yeah, I would say at least in half. And I think with Trump's presidency was not just a presidency, but I think it was very iconic. I would even say maybe it's a symbol in a sense, because a lot of the people who were very sick of being politically correct, about the whole, like having to go see movies like Black Panther, or having to say or not say certain words, they went into the voting booths and they voted silently, and they did it that way. And,
I see.
You know what I mean? So, like, a lot of people, there's a silent majority that's not spoken. Like, even sometimes I'm around certain people, and I feel like I can't, either I have to really make a choice. I'm not super scared, but I feel like I can either be quiet, or I can say my real opinion, and I can get into a fight with these people. Because the left, in this point in history, has just gone so far that you can't even reason with them. You can't even have a conversation.
Wow,
there's some people, like my mom is really cool. My mom voted for Hillary Clinton, and she respects my decision. But I'll send you some links of some of the InfoWars reporter. They went out to, have you seen the Women's March?
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, so
that's a big news in Japan.
Some of the reporters went out to the Women's March, and they're just like, with their microphones, hi, like, why are you here? And some of the people were like, F you, spitting on them, throwing stuff at them, farting on them, like knocking their equipment over, because they're not mainstream news. And the mainstream news has told the people, those people, not everybody, not me, not a lot of people, not the people that voted for Trump, not, there's a lot of people, but have told those people that they're the enemy. So now when they see those reporters out there, I'm going to send you some stuff. You're going to be like, this is crazy. It's going to be very entertaining.
So, actually, in the US, your political view Do you think that affects your friendship or your relationship?
You know, again, in this point in history, yeah, I've never seen anything like this before
Really?
in my life. I'm
Because
personally, personally, I've
one of
always
my students said, sorry, I said in the class, I agree some of Trump's policies, political policies. I actually agree some of it, not everything, but
yeah.
some of his political policy actually working. You know, I said that in the class, and and
Wait.
he
So,
said
what was the political policy you agree with? You said,
actually yeah, immigrant policy.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. But some of my students got offended by that. I don't want. Then I don't want to talk to you.
But you know
I don't
what?
want
But
to
you know
listen
what
to you.
too? You know what too?
That's crazy.
I have, yes, I know, right? I've never seen anything. I've always had friends that were Republicans, Green Parties, Independents, Democrats. I've never not talked to any of my friends because they're Republicans. And to this, or
Wow.
I've never done that. Like, I've always had different friends from all over. But even till the day that my friends that are Democrat or that voted for Hillary, I'll still talk to them. But I feel like on there, they won't talk to me. They don't want to have a conversation with me.
So basically,
It's crazy.
I can't.
Like I said, I've never seen anything like this before because we've always had presidential races. We always had. So I also think there's just a point in history too where a lot of these problems are coming to a head, and now people are feeling like they have to choose sides. So.
Wow. So I can't be friends with you if I'm not hating Trump or something like that.
Oh, but no, you can. I don't care.
No. Some
people?
black people.
Oh, yeah. There's some people. I have to I drive. Do you know Lyft?
Yes. I
Okay,
left
so one of my jobs.
left and right, right?
Yeah.
America.
One of my jobs is I drive for Lyft. Okay, so I pick up this guy, and he gets into the car, and we're talking, and he was like, "Oh, Texas has so many Republicans," and I was like, "Well, what's wrong with Republicans?" And he was like, I was like, "Well, no, I really don't know because I have friends that are Republicans, and I don't think it's really wise to put anybody of one group into a category." Because people have, I don't think it's like you can't say no about black people, or white people, or Japanese people, whatever. So he was like, "Oh yeah, they just want to steal the money from the rich and, give to the poor, and take from the poor, and they don't want poor people to have anything." And I was like, "Well, I don't agree with that." And I start talking to him about it. And he got really offended. And we were on the freeway, and I swear, if we were not on the freeway, he probably would have gotten out the car. So I think a lot of people too, they vote, even if you're an intelligent person with a PhD, right? They just get talking points, and they don't really think political policies through. They don't really think about the politics. It's become theater and drama in our country where people just, watch the comedians. The late night comedians have been actually propaganda where people get their talking points from. And then, very few people read, very few people look at the policies. Like, nobody can tell me a policy that Hillary Clinton had, except vote for me, I'm a woman, pretty much, It was this whole guilt trip, her whole campaign. Like, vote for me, I'm a woman, I'm going to be the first woman president. But she didn't have any policies that on immigration or on health or on, what else, the taxes. So he's bringing jobs back. He's doing a lot of good things that Americans need. And I think once people are secure in those things, like having a good job, feeling safe, then they'll be able to, reach a self-actualization, do you know Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
I'm not sure about that. What is it?
So, is this psychologist, Abraham Maslow, and he has this model, it's like a triangle, right? So at the top of the triangle is for people to is self-actualization. So if at the top of the triangle you're safe, you're conscious, you're aware, you can grow, you can be creative, you can be inventive, you're nice to people, you're not paranoid, right? So kind of like not being a victim mentality. On the lower end, like the first level is like security or food, right? So you have to first, as a human being, these are things that you need, right? A hierarchy as a human being. So the first level is like, as a human being, you need food, right? Sleep, water. The second level is safety. right? You need shelter. Third level is like your self-esteem. Fourth level is like friendships. I might get the two mixed up, but it's like friendships and security. And then like the last level is like, then when you have all of those needs met, then you can get to creativity. So a lot of people that are on the victim mentality are kind of like on the lower tier because they're controlled by fear. They're living in fear, and they're very like, you know, they think that they've been brainwashed to think that Trump is going to lock all black people up. Trump is racist. Trump is with and there's no evidence to prove it, but the mainstream media is telling them these things. They would see the mainstream media and they'd be like, oh, Trump is a racist. Oh my God, he's going to kill us. Oh my God, you know, this is crazy. Oh my God, oh my God. So then they're in fear and they react out of fear. So these people that are doing things like, I'm not going to talk to you and stuff, and they're, you know, they actually in their minds, I think they think that they're doing a good thing because they're fighting the evil people.
I see.
Whereas I was where they were before, and I can be like, I know where they're coming from, so I have a little bit of compassion, but now it's just getting crazy.
Wow. So basically, they can't take any opposing opinion, you know,
Well,
any disagreement.
generally speaking, yeah. They don't, like, a lot of people are just like, you know, I have a friend that's, she's an herbalist, and she was hanging out with herbalists, and she, you know, they got along in all other areas, but she was saying that then she heard them all over talking about Trump supporters, and she was a Trump supporter, but she didn't tell them because they were just saying really horrible things like, oh, these people need to die, they're horrible people, they're Nazis, I can't talk to anybody that's a Trump supporter. You know, people are not putting stickers on their car because they're afraid people are gonna like key their car or break their window. Because if they know, but in the people that are doing this, they think they're like, oh well, they're Nazis, so it's good to punch a Nazi. It's good to beat them up because they're bad people.
Yeah, that's something I don't like about, you know, Americans. You know, some Americans people, you know, judge you by your political view, right?
Yeah.
Just a political view. If you don't like Trump, you are racist. You know, you are sexist or something like that. So yeah, that's.
Do you have in Japan? Do you have what are my terms? Do you have political? How are your political parties split up? How are your systems?
Actually, we are not interested in politics at all. You know, most people. You know, the voting rate is really low. You know, compared to the U.S.
So do you have a president or a prime minister? I'm sorry.
Prime Minister Abe Shinzo.
But don't you vote? Who's your prime minister?
Abe Shinzo.
Abe Shinzo.
You don't know that. Okay.
I'm
But
so
you know,
sorry.
it's okay. It's okay.
American. Oh my God.
But it's totally okay because including me, I would say more than 80% of the people have no interest in politics. So you know, things like if you don't support Clinton or you're a horrible person, that kind of thing never happens in Japan.
But you have two candidates, right, that run for prime minister? And people vote? Does the media get involved in the voting a lot? Do they?
Actually, our media, when it comes to that, our media is quite mutual. They are not biased.
Okay.
Either of them. Yeah. So that's good.
That's good. But like our mainstream media is definitely biased.
But the problem is most people don't go to election in the first place. So, that's quite a serious problem, right?
It's kind of what?
That's quite sad for me,
Yeah.
Because I care about Japan,
Yeah. I mean, maybe you have your own way of dealing with things. Because I've been brought up in a culture that does that. I've never thought about a culture that really doesn't do it. So it's very interesting to me. How about like, what was I going to ask? So do you vote like, so you don't vote. So how do you solve issues in your society do you have like, Like congressmen, or do you have?
Actually,
I'm sorry,
more,
I don't. But this is
most people don't care about that. They care only themselves. Well, I don't care. Birth rate. Is dropping. I don't care immigrants or something like that.
Do they care? Do they care about that show, The Slippery Stairs?
No, no.
You know the
Actually,
show?
most people don't care about that.
How about the show I'm talking about, the Japanese show?
I know, I know.
Yeah. Oh, I saw that. It was amazing. And it was so interesting to me. I don't know why. I know it's very like juvenile, but I thought it was very interesting. So, what do you think most people care about in Japan?
Actually, most people care about just celebrities cheating was that kind of scandal.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, that's.
Well, you know what? People do that
Who
here.
cares, right?
They live vicariously through other people here too, so they care about that stuff as well too.
Oh,
But
I
our,
see.
but our politics has also become very like sensationalized as well.
Mm.
You know, so really they care about like gossip papers and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's the only interest I would say.
Wow. Huh.
Yeah, that's quite sad, right? But in the US, maybe too much, but.
No, I mean, like I said, we like people put a lot of energy and focus into that as well. I don't. So I want to know about the dating issue in Japan
Mm.
and the non-dating issue.
Mm.
Do you date?
I personally
What
don't
about
date
you?
so much, but
You're
when it
interested. You're
comes to
interested in dating?
me,
Yeah, you're interested in dating.
I wouldn't say completely no, but that's not my first priority right now. I'm more focused on get people more interested in dating.
You gotta date
Yeah.
too. You gotta get a girl.
Actually,
And they'll be like, look
actually
at
more.
Nobita and his girl. And then they'll be like, I gotta get a girl just like Nobita.
Actually, I'm getting less interested in dating. Me personally, but that doesn't matter. I when it comes to dating issue, I would say Japanese men, more like more like women nowadays. They are.
They're feminized. They're feminized.
Yeah, feminized. They don't approach the women, asking a girl out, or they are not, aggressive in my opinion. Yeah, so that's why I'm scared of feminism in the West, like Me Too movement.
So, but why do you think that why do you think this has happened in Japan? Like there has to be a reason why this happened. Like cause and effect. Like something has to. Like, what do you think? Why do you think that is?
Actually, more women want to work outside nowadays. That trend is getting more. So back in the day, in Japan, women tend to be housewife. Housewife.
Yeah.
That's quite normal. That was quite normal in Japan. But nowadays, more women get educated, go to university, and they want to work outside. So
I see what you're saying. Yeah, you know what?
yeah.
I'm gonna send you some stuff. I'm gonna take you down a rabbit hole. Because there was a time period where that happened in our country too, where the feminists. Now, I'm not saying it's cool for women to work and if they want to, but I think there was a concerted effort to bring this in to split society and women, make women to split up the family basically. So you're seeing it happen in Japan now, where for us it was like in the 1960s.
Yeah, that's quite sad.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say, I'm gonna take you. You don't even know. You don't even know. No, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Actually, nothing wrong with women going outside, right? Working outside, but
Yeah, I know, but you also have to have a family so you can see your legacy live on as a country, as a people, right? So that's very important. No, I get what you're saying, like So how about the robots So a lot of men are getting like the sex robots. I heard in Japan.
Yeah.
Is that true?
That's quite embarrassing, I think. You robots, right? No emotion, no feeling,
Yeah, it's kind of creepy.
That doesn't work,
Yeah, but I think they're trying to substitute intimacy with the robot, and they think that people are made to have sex just for procreation. It's true, but at the same time, there's also intimacy. You can't get that from a robot. You can't get the spirit. You can't get the soul from a robot. So
I think in Japan, too much porn. There are too much porn. So a lot of young men thinking like, I don't have to date to have sex, Yeah, maybe that's one of the reasons.
But it cuts you off. It doesn't. They're not. I don't think they're really happy though. And does something.
No.
Like they're satisfied, but they're not. They're not happy. They're not genuinely happy.
No, yeah, pretty cringy, right?
Yeah, yeah. Do you think also another criticism that I've noticed? Saving face. Do you know saving face? Do you think that too because people may not want to admit that they have a problem with that because they want to save face and not look stupid? That's an issue as well.
Exactly.
Because
I think
in order for those men to be able to be like, okay, I have a problem. I'm a human being. I have a problem. I have to forgive myself. But they don't want to look foolish to other people, and they want to save face. That maybe they'd rather just stay in and have a sex robot.
Yeah, actually, what society kind of encourage you not to be honest,
Yeah.
Hiding the true feeling.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's not good. That's not good for any society.
Sometimes works to keep the harmonies,
Well,
so
I mean, like, but I think that there's a tactful way that you can say things. Like, I'll give you an instance. My friend in Taiwan, she was teaching, and one of her students was cheating on the test. So she took the book away from him. So his friends were making fun of him because he got caught cheating. So he goes home and he tells his dad. His dad comes up to the school and starts banging his fist on the desk, yelling. So they go back to my friend who's a teacher, and they say, "What happened?" And she says, "Oh, I took the book away from him because he was cheating." And they're like, "Oh, well, we can't tell the father that because he'll lose face." That's crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Just because nobody benefits, right? So, and then they fired my friend. They fired my friend. But like, she's supposed to take the book away from him if he's cheating, but they don't want to tell the dad because he already made a fool out of himself. Because he instead of asking, okay, what's going on? What's the problem? My son came home crying. Can we work this out? Like, instead of going to the teacher and trying to work it out, he went up to the school and he threw a temper tantrum. Now, because he threw a temper tantrum, he can't control his temper. My friend got fired. His son's not going to learn English, and he's probably going to keep throwing temper tantrums because he gets his way, and he's not going to learn. So, like, nobody benefits from that situation.
The thing happens a lot in Japan.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, like that. Like,
yeah, that's sad. That's sad. Yeah.
Like that. That's not a good thing. But I think so. But in that sense, like I was saying, you were saying, oh, people do that to keep the harmony. But in that instance, he still could have been honest and did it a different way. Like I said, like go and talk to the teacher and the principal calmly and ask what happened before he threw a temper tantrum. That way, he could have been like, oh, you were cheating? Well, why aren't you cheating? Then he probably would find out his son's not studying. Then he would be more harder on his son, and then his son would be good at English. And I know people spend lots and lots of money sending these kids to the bushy bands or the English schools, so now he's also losing money. To me, it just doesn't make sense. It kind of goes a little bit with the victim mentality too. I think the saving face, because I also think like the victim mentality too. The people here, they have an issue. I would say, would I call it saving face? I don't know, but I would just say that they have an issue admitting when they're wrong. Like I voted for Obama the first election And then I start looking at some of the things that he did, and I didn't like him anymore. I didn't like the Clintons. I did support them at one time, but it was really hard for me to be like, oh wow, I was wrong. Oh wow, I was tricked. Oh wow, I made a silly decision. But a lot of people can't look inside and admit that, you know, and that's another thing that's messed up, you know, in society.
So how other American people see his performance, Obama?
Well, I think it was very historic because he was the first black president, and for people like my parents had me late. My parents are in the mid-70s. So for people like my parents, it was very important because they went through, now I would say real racism, right? Not like, oh, go see Black Panther, but, like KKK, and, my mom lived through Jim Crow. So for them, it was very emotional. So even if he makes mistakes, it's really hard to get through to him. If he does something that's not right or corrupt, it's hard for me to tell them because they have the blinders on. They're intelligent, but they have their emotional blinders on because he can do no wrong by them. And for a lot of people, because of that, because he's a black president and he's charming and handsome and everything, he can do no wrong, right? So it's really frustrating, and a lot of people don't want to admit that aesthetics play in how people look play a huge deal in society, but most people won't admit that, I don't know.
I understand. Yeah. So, okay, let me interview you this time.
Okay.
Is it okay?
Yeah. We can't interview each other anyway, but yes. What do you want to know? I will tell you everything.
Yeah. So you are, as a African American living in the U.S. Do you think black people are still oppressed even nowadays?
No.
No.
Not
at all.
No.
So why, my question is, why so many people are still claiming white privilege?
Plain and simple, I think because they don't want to take responsibility for the choices that they made.
So white privilege is not real.
Huh?
White privilege is not real, in your opinion.
No. But, I mean, there's racism and there's prejudice, right? But I think there's always going to be that. And people from all races can be prejudiced and can be racist. So I think there's always going to be that. But as far as racism and oppression, nobody's getting in my way from doing what I want to do, right? Like, if I want to, like, now there might be I might go and apply certain places and they might not hire black people. And, but there are laws against that. If I can prove that I was qualified and they didn't hire me because I was black, because I was a woman, then I can sue them. But it's because there are laws against discrimination in this country. But, and at the same time, too, like, if they're systematically trying to keep me down, like, nobody stopped me from going to college. Nobody stopped me from, physically from going to teach in Taiwan. I don't feel like there's anything I can't do if I wanted to do it. But I think, too, especially with the haters I get, they are mentally enslaved. They're mentally oppressed.
Mentally oppressed?
Yeah, like, they're the ones that can get themselves out of it. Like, nobody else can, right? They're the ones that are doing it to themselves. So, like, I like classical music, right? I do. I like classical music. So, but there'll be other black people that'll be like, oh, man, like, you can't like that stuff. That's not black enough. Why don't you listen to hip-hop? You ain't black. So then there are other people that will maybe like classical music like I will, but they'll be bullied by those other people, and then they won't because they feel like they're not black enough, right? They're not honoring their race. So then they might leave the classical music aside and just listen to hip hop, or just dress a certain way, or just have their hair a certain way. But this psychological, like I said, this psychological trauma, some people, and I don't know what why I'm not affected by it and some people are. I'm trying to put my finger on that. But like this does go back, I would say, to slavery, when a lot of the people on the plantations, like say there was a family of 10, right? And then there were like 100 slaves to the plantation. So there were slave revolts, but there are people that also, were scared of slave revolts, so they would psychologically turn their slaves against each other. And there's a famous speech. I don't know if have you heard of the Willie Lynch speech?
Yes, that's quite fair.
Yes, it's a debate whether it was real or if it was fake, but there are people that did have slave consultants. So I feel like this not only can be applied to just black people, but it can spread out to society where you turn people against each other. So it was like turn the light-skinned blacks against the dark-skinned blacks, turn the old against the young, the male against the female. And pretty much that's being done in our society right now. So like black people, gay people, other people of color have this idea of how you're supposed to be if you're this race, so you can and can't do something. And part of this too, because I actually know some people that are in Black Lives Matter that are actually friend of mine, and I know that they have this issue where they were struggling with their own acceptance of their race and not being black enough. Right? So in order to prove their blackness and prove their loyalty or prove their brother or sisterhood, they feel like they have to join this organization or stand for it so they can be like down. Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfectly makes sense.
Yeah.
So, race is a quite serious, serious topic, serious topic, right? Sensitive topic. And, race confliction, especially between white people and black people, quite common, right? Like Black Lives Matter. So why race confliction?
Well, it depends on where you live in the country. It depends on like a lot of things. I wouldn't say I don't say the whole country. I wouldn't even say there are a lot of black people that don't agree with Black Lives Matter. And like I say too, when you see the media and they're promoting this, then but how would you know? Because you're not here. You know what I mean? So you have a perception. But
how about you in your area?
Huh?
How about you in your area? Where you live?
Well, I live in Austin, Texas right now. I'm originally from Los Angeles, California, but I live in Texas, and there's a lot of well, not a lot, but as far as I know, the university, there's a lot of people in university that support Black Lives Matter and stuff. I haven't really seen a lot of people in Austin protesting. I think they have protesting here and there, but I don't really see a lot of people that are into that here.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, but I think I think it really congregates around the campus, because these organizations too, you have to understand, they go after these young impressionable kids that are just going into college, and they're away from their parents. They're getting out for the first time. A lot of them have not been around other races before if they've lived in other parts of the country that have been segregated. And on top of that, they're being like systematically brainwashed by their teachers to fall for this victim mentality, and through like how they teach history. So how they teach history too, they teach history growing up that black people, all black people are slaves, and then all white people were slave owners, and that's not true. Not every black person was a slave. There are other black people that own black slaves. There were white, and a small percentage of the white people were actually slave owners, because there were a lot of poor whites that were here too. And there were Irish slaves, but they don't tell you about that. They don't tell you. They just basically kind of split it up and make it sound like, that, the whites were bad and the black, and, there's basically two sides. It's just black and white, and there's no gray in between. They leave the little details out like that. They don't say that black people from Africa sold other black people into slavery. They don't say that. They don't talk about indentured service. They don't really emphasize all these points. So because you're constantly told you're a slave, and then this race of people did that to you, a lot of people are sensitive to that. They pick that up, and there's a lot of anger, unresolved anger about it. And a lot of people have this entitlement, this idea that they're entitled, like they owe us something, when it doesn't even make sense, because I was never a slave. The people that are here were never slaves, and the people that did the enslaving, their ancestors all died too. So, I mean, it's just very crazy. But to me, I really think it goes back to not wanting to take responsibility. Because, you know, like, kind of like the father and the student that I told you, right? He didn't want to take responsibility for his temper tantrum. So, like, it's like, you know, the kid's probably going to have the mentality where he's not going to grow up and take responsibility for his actions because he gets away by lying. So it goes back to that. A lot of people don't want to take responsibility. A lot of people don't want to, you know, study hard and go to school. Or be like, you know, I lost that job not because I was black, but because I messed up. I was late all the time. You know, I wasn't nice to the customers. I didn't do anything. So it's a lot of inner work that people have to do, I feel, that aren't willing to do it. And I feel like if the country right now is split into two sides, it's the side of people that want to do the inner work and want to work on themselves and better themselves. And then there's a side that doesn't. And one thing I forgot to mention, I don't know if you know this, a lot of the Black Lives Matter, there are a lot of white people in Black Lives Matter too.
Oh, really?
Have you seen that? Yeah, like I said, I'm going to send you some stuff. You're going to go crazy. Like,
That's quite surprising.
There are a lot of white people that support Black Lives Matter and other races as well. And a lot of the white people are, like, there's this weird thing too that's going on here about the white guilt. So in order to control, you have the people that aren't white making the white people feel guilty, but then the white people are, like, falling for it. And then they're submitting and being like, oh, you know, I'm sorry. And then they'll join the Black Lives Matter and they'll be like, oh, you know, like, you know, you're a white male. There's this really, like, I was asking if you watch InfoWars, there's this really good clip of these two guys in a crowd and, like, Black Lives Matter is on here and then the other people that are Trump supporters. And there's a white guy and he's yelling at this one dude and he's like, you're a white male. And the guy's like, but you're a white male. I'm like, yeah, this is crazy. Crazy. So, you know, there are white people that are falling into the white privilege thing too, and the white guilt. They call it white guilt. So it's very interesting, and like I said, I know I'm getting conspiratorial, but I think this has been in the works, and it's finally coming to a head, and it's been done through education. Kind of like, you know, the feminist thing you seen happen in your country, like that was systematic. You know, all this, like, happened, like, you know, through the 1960s. But there are people, you know, like I said, global influences that write the textbooks that tell people what to put in there, you know, and people that are like me and other people that I know that have kind of broken out of that. They've gone and did research themselves. They've gone and made observations themselves. They go look at alternative media and they look at mainstream media and compare to see which one is lying. You know, alternative media gets its money from people either buying products or they get their money, you know, through Patreon or YouTube subscribers or whatever, whereas the mainstream media are bought off by the globalist influences. So they want control of the people. And they're going to, you know, control the people, the mainstream media, like puppets, you know?
Yeah, that's, you know, when it comes to crime rate, you know, compared to other races, black people quite, you know, higher rate, right?
Yeah.
Why is that? And, you know, when I check FBI data, especially homicide rate is pretty high, right? Compared to other races. I want to know the biggest reason. What do you think?
Well, I don't know. I could give you my thoughts because I don't know exactly the whole thing, but I would say, like, a lot of drugs. You know, there was a incident where, like, the CIA dropped drugs in the communities. The whole thing about splitting up the family too with the black community. I think the welfare state, keeping people in that victim mindset. It's a lot of things. Like I said, I'll probably send you some stuff. Yeah, like I see, and I don't think I have all the pieces to the puzzle.
Okay, let me give you my opinion. I think fatherless, you know, a lot of fatherless family.
Yes, that too, fatherless family. Yeah. But that goes in with the feminist thing too, and breaking up the, you know, the family that I was talking about. Yeah. Fatherless family. Breaking up the family, right? You don't have a solid family unit, then things go awry, right? Like it's harder to raise kids financially, so the parents have to work, or the mom or single, just say single moms for the sake of argument, has to work more, and then the mom's not around to see what the kid is doing. If they're living in a neighborhood where people are, they're living off of welfare, or they have a victim mentality, and they feel the only way they can get rich is by getting on, selling drugs, getting on drugs, then they're going to go into that. It has a lot to do with the music industry, where I feel like I like hip hop, okay? Not all hip hop is bad, but there's a segment where I think there was a concentrated effort of hip hop to brainwash people into like falling for the gangster rap, right? So I don't know if you know the gangster rap, where they basically talking about, oh, it's cool to be a gangbanger, it's cool to be, they're basically glorifying killing people and selling drugs and being a gangster. So a lot of these kids, I used to like that stuff until I started teaching in the classrooms, and I noticed a lot of my children, because little kids, they soak everything up. So as little kids, I'm watching these little kids soak all this stuff up and think that it's cool. So they have that mentality.
I see.
Does that make sense? So
Yeah, makes sense.
All these factors that come into play. Now, I had this brilliant kid in my class who told me he wanted to be a pimp. And then he was like, I was like, a pimp? He was like, why? He's like, well, because I get pretty girls, I get a nice car with a pool, and I get lots of money. Now, he didn't know what a pimp was, but because he's watching this on TV, he's listening to it, then he's thinking, well, why should I work hard? I'll just be a pimp. It looks easy. He doesn't know as a kid, right? And then some people kind of grow up with that, then it's not, and also factored in with the whole, thing that I was saying, being bullied by your own race, about like not being able to, or being told how to be, act, and look and talk a certain way. I get attacked just because of the way I talk, because I don't talk like a certain way. So, it's not cool to be smart. It's not cool to do good in school. It's not cool to, some neighborhoods, if you are those things, you'll get beat up. You have to maybe not act like you're so smart, or you act like, you can't dress a certain way or talk a certain way, because you'll literally get beat up. And then it sucks because a lot of the kids growing up, like I grew up in a rough neighborhood, so a lot of the kids that grew up, you're growing up, you can't study because you're worrying about, the violence in your neighborhood. How can you reach self-actualization and, do good in school if you're constantly worried about whether you're going to get beat up or shot, or, your house broken into, or things like that? So does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Kind of. I mean,
great opinion.
yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, you have any other?
Really great opinion. Thank you. So, your country has a lot of good things, right? Not racism, illegal immigrants, but a lot of good things, actually. People can express a lot, right? Unlike Japan.
Yeah.
So, but, a lot of race issue happening at the same time. So, what can Japan learn from the program in the US, the race issue, in your opinion? What's the lesson for Japan?
Oh God, that's a really good question. Let me think. I mean, it really comes down to talking to people and looking at people as human beings. Because I think, as fair as we try to be, just as human beings, we have certain perceptions of each other. I think being honest about that and talking and asking questions, not letting people dictate to us what to think or feel about a certain race. I think, the whole like victim thing, like don't let that come into your country, because it's messed up right now. But like I'm saying, it's not necessary. I wouldn't even say that it's a race. I mean, people use race as an expression of that, but I don't even think it's just a race issue. It's an issue. So if people are insecure, it's an issue that feeds off of people's insecurity. So if people are insecure about their race, then it will manifest as racism. And they're insecure about being a woman, it will manifest as being a woman. I mean, feminism, right? If they're insecure about being, gay, then it will manifest as being LGBT, that. So it's more about like, but at the same time, this country is wonderful because I've been exposed to so many different people. And my family is totally mixed. I have people of all different races in my family. I have friends and, of different races. I'm so blessed to have many different cultures and influences in my life. And I think that people that don't want to experience that, it's very sad for me, because I think that because of that, my world, my universe, my consciousness is so much bigger because of that.
I don't live in the US, but your country looks really wonderful, actually. But
You've
I
never
wonder
been?
for
Wait, you never been?
actually one time New Orleans, like I
that's
said.
right. No,
But
sorry.
I don't live. I haven't lived in the US actually, but the US is actually wonderful country for Japan outside from the US. But so I'm wondering, quite many people like social justice warriors complaining, right? Even though in the really free society, the great country looks great country. So why they are not satisfied? Why they are, not grateful for the country?
I think a lot of them are spoiled. A lot of them have not known hardship. A lot of them have not even traveled outside of the country. A lot of them, like I said, through school and stuff, they've been systematically. I was listening to this lady, what's her name? Lily Tang Williams. That was Lily Tang Williams, who was talking about in order to completely control a society and suppress a society, because she escaped from China to live in America, and she was talking about the school system. I'm just saying, as a teacher, I've noticed a lot of stuff. Like I swear, like some of your viewers might think I'm crazy and I'm a ball conspiracy theorist, but there are powers that be that have put things in place to make people think a certain way. And I've seen it in the curriculum. And she talks, maybe I can find that video, she can talk about this. But like, the political correctness culture is a terrible thing, because it stifles conversation, right? So I said one of the things to in race, or one thing you can learn, is just to keep the conversation going. The political correctness stifles the conversation, because that's what attracted me to you. I was like, who is this dude? I like him. We have to be friends, like today, but they know that because there are people that are afraid of saying the wrong thing or being honest, that people are going to back off, and then people won't be able to engage in conversation. And then the people that can't engage in conversation with each other they're easily controlled, because they're living in fear. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you think diversity is good for the country? Diversity. Some countries I think
diversity.
Yeah, sorry.
I think diversity
Go ahead.
Is good if you're willing to respect the culture that you're living in. But I think people collapse the two phrases, multiculturalism and diversity, and they think it's one thing, but it's different. So multiculturalism is a different culture, but you could be a different race and a different culture, but you could be a different race but the same culture. So as long as you like I'm not gonna go to Japan and like walk into somebody's house with my shoes on, or you know what I mean, or be like, hey, does anybody speak English? You know what I mean? Like those people. Like I'm gonna like at least have a phrase book. I'm gonna try and communicate. I'm going to, be polite and respect the rules as much as I can. Where multiculturalism, when you bring in a clash of cultures together, like what's happening with a lot of the Muslims that are coming in, they're very a lot of them believe in, I'm not saying all Muslims, okay, but a lot of them believe in, what do they call that? Betrothing, marriage to kids, right? It's pedophilia, beating their wives, covering their wives, disrespecting women. They believe in this stuff. Now, that doesn't mix with American culture, right? If they came and they, didn't have that stuff and they want it to be an American, then they're welcome. But if they're going to bring that to America and they want people to change for them, You know, it's not their culture. They go back to your country. Why are you here? So I think that's a big thing. So I think diversity is great. Like I said, because it expands horizons and consciousness, and as long as people are being respectful. But the whole clash of cultures, like a lot of the stuff that's, you know, what's going on in Europe right now with like the Muslim, like that's terrible. Like Germany is going to lose their, like if I want to go to Germany, I want German culture. I don't want, now if there are people that were coming there and they, you know, they're learning to speak German and they're integrating and stuff, then that's fine. But I don't believe in going to a country and trying to force your culture upon that country. You know.
Great opinion. Great opinion.
Yeah. It's
Exactly.
like if I'm gonna live in Japan, I'm gonna like learn to speak Japanese. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna, you know. Anyway.
Yeah, great opinion. Yeah, you are wonderful.
Yeah, you should.
Thank you.
We should start wrapping this up though, because I have to get early in the morning. Do you want to ask me any more questions?
Actually, yeah. That was my last question. Thank you so much.
Oh,
Actually,
okay,
yeah.
perfect. So I'm gonna send you some stuff. I'm gonna send you some videos and some links that will probably go deeper into what I was trying to explain, because I felt like you really good thinker. You're a truth seeker. I think some of this information might like fill up some of the gaps that you were trying to ask me, and it's like there's just not enough time for me to go into.
Yeah, thank you. But I wish I could speak English more well, because you know, it's quite still hard to express my thoughts.
Yeah,
everything
well, you know
in
what?
English.
I'm learning a language too, so I totally know what it's like, and like I can't express myself the way in Chinese yet. I can say some things, I can basic conversations, but I can't interview somebody in Chinese, you know. So.
Yeah, so let's speak in Japanese next time. So I can more express.
I'll just say, konnichiwa, konnichiwa. That's all I'll say. That's all I know. So anyway, the girl, I actually run this channel with my best friend, but she's busy dealing with family stuff right now. If you ever seen my channel, there's another redhead girl. Her son is learning Japanese. He's brilliant. He's a very, very, very smart guy, kid. Like,
Great.
So maybe.
Maybe.
Anyway.
Maybe we can talk.
Yeah. Maybe you guys can talk. That'd be great. But thank you so much. This is
thank you. Thank you for having me.
So I have your
interview.
email. I will send you stuff. We'll keep in touch. So let me know what you're up to. If you're in America, if you're in Texas, you can crash on my couch. Okay.
Sure. Thank you so much.
All right.
You're fun. Okay. Have a good night. Thank you.
Bye bye.